time we do a press or preview of the press. First look at what's on the front pages of the papers. We start, as usual, with our sister publication, This Day. Let's look at what This Day is saying on its front page. Headline, Rising Fiscal Headwinds, IMF harps on improved domestic revenue mobilization. It has about 2 riders or 3 there. It says, reiterates need to end petrol subsidy. NAS may amend Finance Act to address 11.03 trillion naira 2023 budget deficit, Senator reveals. Then just below that, Oshibajo, Biden, Macron, other world leaders gather in London for Queen Elizabeth's funeral today. She was monarch for all seasons. That's from Oshibajo, the vice president. King Charles issues thank you message to the world. And just below that picture, Tinubu appoints Yahaya Bello, National Youth Coordinator of Presidential Campaign. Then let's take you to the top mast. Presidency, we paid $311 million a batch of loot directly to contractors, says decision meant to prevent diversion by National Assembly and the MDAs.
The Punch newspaper this morning, leading headline, tax reliefs, concessions, federal government grants 16 trillion naira waiver to Dangote, Honeywell and others. And just below that, 22 killed in Abuja, Lagos, Ogun crashes, 12 hospitalized.
The Nation newspaper, strike reps ASUU meet over face off with government tomorrow.
All right, leadership. APC, 9 days to go. APC, PDP, LP, others strategize, fine-tune campaign machineries. In the topmast, strike. Court hears FG's suit against ASUU today. And 2023 budget now to amend Finance Act. I think we read that in one of the papers. All right, let's go to the next paper.
Some international papers this morning. Daily Express with a simple headline, farewell our glorious Queen. That's a picture of the late Queen Elizabeth II. And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our outside studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the biggest event that's going to happen today, an unprecedented event. 4.1 billion people are expected to watch from all over the world as Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth II state funeral takes place today in London. On the front page of This Day, you see Oshibajo, Biden, Macron, other world leaders gather in London for Queen Elizabeth's funeral today. The Vice President of Nigeria there representing President Buhari. Emmanuel, this is not just a funeral, it's a state funeral. 500 foreign dignitaries there, over 2,000 guests expected, over 2 million people expected on the streets of London. This is a state funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth II, and it's also a way that's bringing together literally the whole world today, really on a standstill to witness what's going to happen today.
Yes, Nkechi, and actually it's a grand finale, so to say, of after 10 days of mourning. This is the best way to end it, and it's ending the way it started with her death, which is the fact that it was a worldwide event. It wasn't just an ordinary death, and it wasn't just an ordinary procession of all sorts of people. It was actually called the queue, where all sorts of people came around. Ordinary people, great people, everybody wanted to be part and parcel of that moment in history, where they paid their last respect in the last 10 days, with even state officials finding it very difficult to, at one point, to control crowds and all that. But it was all done very well. And today's event is the grand finale, like you pointed out. It's the sheer number of those who are going to be viewing it, and of course the magnificence of it all. So whether it is in death or in life, the life of Queen Elizabeth II has been such a glorious one. And then today's event is the is the climax of it all. And in sheer number of the kind of the visitors and even those who are going to be viewing around the world, it's one of its kind of event, and it's historic in proportion and even in imports, and of course in the symbolism that is around both the burial and the processions and the colorful the pomp and pageantry of it all. We've been regaled with the best of the British, the tradition around those issues. So whether you like it or not, whether you're a monarchist, whether you respect traditional institutions or not, this is one day that the whole world will be practically fixated on one issue, and maybe, just maybe today, forgetting every other thing. You can see the coverage of the British papers. It's just a one subject kind of coverage on their cover, and it's as huge as that. And I think, yes, the whole world will be tuning. Our Sibanjo is there representing, all of us, of course, sitting for the president who is elsewhere. And what he has to say is as profound as the event itself. So yes, it's a huge day for everyone that is tuned on what's been happening around this issue.
Of course, Emmanuel, our Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has described the late monarch as a one for all seasons, and he is attending that event. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, Atiku Kwankwaso have no street credibility, and that's according to the All Progressives Congress campaign spokesman, Festus Keyamo. But something that's generated a whole lot of conversation over the weekend, Emmanuel, the vice presidential candidate of the APC was speaking at an event last week, and he made certain comments. Of course, he put up a tweet to clarify. If we can get that Kashim Shettima tweet up on the screen, and we can go over it. He says, "I never attributed hospitality to Abacha in my speech. I did a rundown of our past presidents and played up the taciturnity and a dose of ruthlessness of Sani Abacha to show we need strong men to deal with non-state actors who turn Nigeria into a vast killing field." Emmanuel, at a time when the world is moving forward, the presidential candidate, vice presidential candidate is calling for a strong man to be elected into the post of president and vice president. Does he mean well, and how does this comment come across to you?
Well, I rather look at it in the holistic sense of this campaign. It has been a very bitter one, and it's generating a lot of controversies already. And it's also the battle of spokesperson, like Festus Keyamo was saying some things, and it's also the battle of the vice or the running mates, and what they are saying out there, and people fact-checking on them. So, and it's going to make for an interesting contest. The campaign's already, like some papers are saying, 9 days to go. The campaigns are, doing everything, to look at how they can put up their best foot forward in a contest that is going to be very, very tough. Each one of them with different strategy. For the APC campaign, it looks as if it's the sort of thing, Kenneth, that you are pointing out, what Shettima will say. Shettima is doing more of the talking. Already Tinubu said that he's not one for granting very long interviews and all of that. But Shettima loves to, wear his professorial hat. He's not a professor, but he loves to give a lot of lecture, and he talks a lot. Some of the things he says for some time, of course, run into the kind of troubles that this tweet is trying to clarify. But that seems to be the strategy there, with Tinubu doing less of the talking and Shettima doing that. The PDP campaign seems to have more of the talkers, because the candidate himself talks about his plan all the time, and he tries to put himself out there. Now, of course, they are bogged down with the Wike crisis. They are doing everything to ramp up their base. They don't have a presidential campaign council in place. The Labour Party is, latching on the fact that, the civil society, youths and those great rallies you're seeing all over the country, they believe that that's the structure at the end of the day that will win this. And they put that out there to say, look, their man is popular, he's saying all the good things. So all the campaigns are thinking of strategies and how to really buy into those huge votes, 80 million or so of those votes that they really need to latch into. So, but at the end of the day, it's going to be, at this point, I don't know how much of that they're going to move, but yes, there are undecided voters that will be keenly listening to these candidates. It's not just what they have to say, but even what they do at times.
All right, let's move away from politics. Leadership. Strike. Court hears FG's suit against ASUU today. Emmanuel.
Well, that's what is in court, and we'll look at, I mean, we don't preempt what court will say, but the ASUU thing, the interesting story, that I think it's in leadership and one other paper, it's the fact that, I think another paper carried that story of how the National Assembly is weighing into the crisis, almost as if saying that, look, the executive arm has actually failed in dealing with this. I think it's the Nation newspaper that is saying that, well, it's the latest development now is that the National Assembly itself is weighing into it with reps sitting back to say, okay, let us see what we can do to deal with this crisis. Almost everybody seems to have an idea on how to, deal with the crisis of ASUU. With some people even saying that the candidate themselves, the presidential candidate, should actually weigh into this. It's important for them to actually step back and weigh into this very, very important issue, because we're talking about, I don't know how we can have these campaigns with students at home and not being in school, and then it's difficult to know what any one of those candidates will be saying, especially in the area of education. So it's just the various ways that we're trying to deal with the crisis of ASUU that has been lingering now for months.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel.